Hey, Don.
Hey, Jacob.
What are the good and the bad wedding reception activities?
Ooh, let's talk about it.
Give it to me.
Okay.
Go through the list. Let's just go through like top to bottom.
Okay. We've got some basics to cover, right?
Yeah.
So we can go kind of chronologically. We'll start with grand entrances.
I'll allow that.
Start with the grand entrances.
Yeah.
So this is normally when the DJ is announcing like the wedding couple, their wedding party, maybe parents, whoever's significant into the reception room. What do you think?
Yay or nay?
Yeah, I'm for it.
Big thumbs up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I always try to touch base with the DJ though, especially if I'm shooting by myself, to make sure we're all on the same page about where the fun stuff is going
Correct.
to happen. Because it never fails. So I just had a wedding the other day and we discussed wait till the dance floor to do whatever dance move or whatever you're going to do. And everyone listened.
But one.
Except the wedding couple. And
the one that matters the most.
It was me on the dance floor, all of their guests, and then them doing their twirl and kiss. And I was like trying to get through the crowd.
If it's not too big of an aisle, like if it's not a big aisle or it's not one where they have to like go zigzag through chairs, I've started almost like walking with every single one because I don't trust any of these dum-dums to like listen. They've already been drinking already, especially the bridesmaids and groomsmen. But yes.
Yeah.
I do like, I mean, the grand exit sets the stage for the party. It's literally, when that music starts, I'm like, my job is done.
Yeah.
I have gotten you to your wedding reception.
Yes.
The DJ is in charge now.
Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah. All right. So normally grand entrances lead straight into the first dance.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Oh, 100%.
I love it. I love when they're choreographed too. Then there's like, well, actually, the choreographed ones are a little bit harder to photograph because you don't know what's coming and there's a lot of motion.
And they never tell you.
No, and I've even had ones where I know it's going to be choreographed. And so we plot out what direction they'll be facing for the final dip or whatever. Doesn't matter. It's still, they're always facing the wrong way or I'm on the wrong side.
I got an algorithm, a video last night of a wedding couple that did the Friends, Monica and her brother Ross dance.
From the New Year's Eve party.
And it was phenomenal.
That's amazing.
Again, first dances, fully support.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah. Let's talk about like blessings and toasts.
I am moderately okay with them. Including speeches too. Any microphones.
A guest, anytime someone other than the DJ has a microphone.
How about within reason?
Fair.
Yeah. A blessing is fine.
Yes.
A toast to best man and a maid of honor. Fine with that.
Perhaps even father of the bride.
Sure. Any more?
Nope.
We don't need any more.
Okay.
Obviously, or a mother too. Like it.
Yeah, exactly. Like any significant people, or sometimes it's like the person who introduced the couple to one another. Yeah.
And we have to say, we were also basing this off photography too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Let's put a caveat on that.
Yeah, it's not the activities itself.
Yeah.
It's the like photo potential or not potential of those activities. So, an extreme case, I had a Canadian wedding.
Oh, and they open mic, baby.
I love the couple. I still talk to them. But oh dear goodness, their 5 toasts took 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It went over the entire plated multi-course dinner. And the other photographer and I were like, okay, you go eat now. I'll stay in here. Then we'd switch and be like, okay, now you eat. Because it was never ending.
Yeah. And on certain ones, I've had a Canadian one too, where they would open, let anyone else speak. And they had very specific activities that needed to be done at specific times that could not be moved.
Yes.
And they were like, you need to shout.
Yeah, we had the same thing. We had to fit then parent dances.
We're on the same wedding. Probably.
It was like parent dances, character meet and greet, and confetti cannon in like 35 minutes.
I think we're talking about the same wedding. I'm pretty sure it was the exact same wedding. It was the same wedding. I'm thinking I can picture it right now.
Yeah, you were there?
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but we shot a lot of weddings.
A lot. I'm amazed that I remember weddings that I forgot, let alone who else was there.
Yep.
Oh, man. So, yeah. I've also had times, though, where I have had to ask the DJ to cut the mic because I can see, like we talked about before, how we try to build that quick connection with our couples, and like we're always trying to monitor them.
And reading the room,
Yes. And like the couple is getting visibly upset.
Yeah.
Not in a, oh, that's so sweet, emotional way. Like in a, this drunk best man is rehashing all of these like horrible things that happened
Oh yeah.
that should not be public information, and no one else is doing anything. I've literally had to go to the DJ and be like, cut the mic now. This is bad. You have to stop.
And as someone who thinks they're funny, like don't try to be funny unless you're like a comedian. And even then, I actually think a comedian would be straight because that's their job. They don't try to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to pull off. You cannot wing a speech and be really funny.
My favorite though.
So just be from the heart and just say, I love you, man. Move on.
But my favorite is when they're saying the same speech we've heard 75 times because they just copied and pasted it off of Google.
Hey. Gets the job done.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do enjoy like those moments where, you know, you can capture like the person speaking and then the couple getting their reaction to something funny or
Especially
emotional.
if it's really emotional. Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love those moments. It's just when it gets out of control that it's less enjoyable to photograph.
Agreed. And remember, we're standing in the middle of the dance floor. So usually there's like guests all around us, even though we're not part of it. Like I feel like everyone's looking at me because I'm in the middle of everyone and I'm like, this is going too long.
I know. Yes, I agree.
So I just hold the camera up to my face so no one can see me and just.
All right. So normally after that is parent dances.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And I'm okay with I like the variations of sometimes it's, you know, you get your dad and then mom comes in. Maybe there's multiple dads. Maybe dad is passed, so brother comes in. Any combination of it because it's all emotion. It's all legit, real emotion. Right. 100% agree.
Yeah. And any, whatever combination, it's not even necessarily parent dance. It's like significant person in my life dance.
Agreed.
I have seen a few where they've started either like someone in the pairing like doesn't like a lot of attention or something like that, or it just has other significance, but where they've asked like everyone else to come to the dance floor. So maybe it's like the mother-son dance, and then they ask all of the other mothers and sons to come to the dance floor. And so, you know, the bride and her son come out to the dance floor or, you know, something like that.
Yeah. It's also usually a good transition to like, sometimes the dance turns into like a slow dance with a couple, and then it's a good way. Then the DJ can be like, now everyone come out to the dance floor, slow dance, which then turns it right into the real dancing. So you've already got people on the dance floor instead of trying to convince them. So usually it's a good transition. I would say sometimes length of song. If you don't want to dance, don't ever be afraid to tell the DJ, we only want to do a minute of the song.
Yes.
Because sometimes you can tell when it's going on, the song is 6 minutes long.
Yes.
And they're playing some Led Zeppelin version. And you're like, even you can tell both of them are just like, okay, are we done?
This is good. Yeah. And I'll hear DJs sometimes telling couples like, just motion to me and I'll cut the song. And, you know, good DJs who feel like they have a good relationship with the couple, they'll just sense that themselves and start to fade it out. That's what happened at my job the other day. The couple that didn't come to the dance floor to do their fun little entrance. But another dance that is very common is an anniversary dance.
Yes.
Or a reverse anniversary dance. So tell us what the standard one is.
So an anniversary dance is where you bring everyone who's married onto the dance floor. And then you start kind of weeding them out basically on you're trying to find who's been married the longest. So like usually there's some joke if you've been married over 1 hour, please leave. So the bride and groom has to leave. And they'll go a year, 10 years, 15 years.
Right.
And eventually they're left with one couple. I like them a lot. The photograph is it's good at the beginning, and it's also really good at the end because you can get a photo with the bride and groom and the longest couple. 9 times out of 10, it's a grandparent.
Right.
So it's someone that's already means a lot to them. They can go on. Sometimes some DJs, I think they go too long with it. They're like, they really like, just go 1 year, 5 years, instead of like really waiting.
It doesn't need to be 30 seconds
Correct.
in between each call out. Yeah.
But for the most part, I I like him a lot, and I think it's super cute. Just as a human being,
Right.
I always think it's super cute, especially when you get down to sometimes two couples, and it's like over 50, and so the DJ's like 51 years, 52
Yeah.
years, and then there's always a big, when whoever wins, there's always a big applause, and
Yeah.
it's cool to see. So
And sometimes they have that couple like share advice.
yeah, exactly.
With the newlyweds.
Uh-huh.
So I've seen sometimes where it's not, there is like the couple already knows, like there isn't any significant couple that's been married the longest. And so they don't want to do the anniversary dance, but the DJ wants to do something to build up the energy on the dance floor. And so they'll do like a reverse anniversary dance, and they'll start with the newlyweds, and then, okay, if you've been married more than 1 year, if you've been married more than 5 years, and then like build everyone up on the dance floor, or start with the longest couple
yeah.
and then build up. But either way, you're starting with one couple and building up to the rest, and then moving straight into like a really good song that people will want to stay and dance to.
Very pro anniversary dance.
Yes.
Just don't make them that long.
Yeah. I like going around though and trying to get a picture of each couple, and sometimes that might be the only time they get up
This
to
is true,
dance.
too.
They feel the pressure,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Another like super standard thing for weddings is cake cutting.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially if there's a piece for me.
Yeah. But I find like even without cakes, like they'll find something to cut. I've cut donuts. I've cut churros,
Little mini pies.
mini pies.
Mhm.
So I would say it's just cutting something.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
We've even had couples that just have a round just to cut, but like no one's eating it.
correct. Yeah.
Or like maybe one of them has a food allergy, so like that cake is just for that person that has the food allergy. That's what they're cutting into. But then it's like a dessert bar. So like there's a ton of different ways to do cake cutting, but it's a nice kind of significant moment because once the party starts, there aren't a ton of times where you're looking at the camera.
Yeah.
And that can be one of those
And you don't want to
times.
stop and start a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's one of the few times where you get a legitimate stop from the dancing. Everyone takes a quick break, some drinks, some water, cut some cake, and then they're right back to it.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, every old time photo you see, it's always of the bride and groom or, cake cutting.
Mm-hmm.
Like every old photo.
Yeah,
It's
that's
never anything
true.
else. It's either those two at the
That's
altar of the
true.
church or they're cutting the cake. Those are the only two photos they got, I guess, back in the old days.
Yeah.
So it's a tradition I'm totally okay with, and it's a good photo.
Yeah, it's fun. So something that is probably just as traditional, but is fading a bit in tradition, bouquet and garter toss.
Oh, yeah. I would say the bouquet is holding on longer than the garter, but the garter is definitely slipping.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can count, it's probably 1 out of every 10, maybe 1 out of every 20 weddings now.
Mm-hmm.
Garter, but bouquet probably still 1 every 3.
Yeah, I would say like half or a third
Yeah.
of them are still doing bouquet toss.
Yeah, I just think it's a very weird.
It's a very weird tradition.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you follow it through the whole way you're supposed to do it, where like the person that catches the garter puts
Correct.
it on the person who caught the bouquet.
And then it gets
It's just
weird, and
uncomfortable.
sometimes like there's been a lot of ones where kids have won it, or
Yeah.
like it's a different couple, like so some guy's putting it on some other guy's girlfriend,
Yeah. Or yes. Or like you said.
and then it's
children
just though the
involved, it's
groom like up in her business, taking it off, dad's right there, and like I don't really want to photograph too much of it.
Mhm.
I'm photographing from the side,
Yes.
not the doctor view of it, if you will, the gynecologist view.
Anytime someone else, like the planner or DJ, tries to set up
Yeah, I'm like no.
the shot for they'll set the chair for where the bride's gonna sit, and I'm always like turning it because I want to be completely from the side. I don't want to accidentally see anything I shouldn't.
Nobody want to see that business.
No.
So the garter can go for all I care. I don't care.
Mhm.
The bouquet doesn't really hurt anyone. Sounds like, but the bouquet is harmless. Like it's still super cute. Everyone jumps and dances
Yeah.
as long as you have a separate bouquet, not your actual bouquet.
Yes.
So you don't kill
Oh
someone.
my gosh. I normally there are toss bouquets because if you have any sort of professional florist, they're going to prompt you to have the toss
Correct.
bouquet, or they might just include it anyway. But when sometimes I'll have couples who do their own florals, which are usually fake if they're doing it themselves, but every once in a while they're real. And they're like made out of brooches
Yeah.
or pins or something. And I'm like,
There's knives in it.
you can't throw that into the air at people. So yeah, it's not my favorite thing to photograph.
Yeah. It's tough to photograph. Every once in a while, you get a great shot of a bridesmaid, like football NFL style, jumping and catching it. But most of the time, it's a little sloppy.
Yeah. Or, you're, again, especially for by ourselves, you're getting like the motion of them releasing. And then if it doesn't make it far enough,
it just,
you like pan over to where the crowd is, but it's like on the floor 20 feet in front of them or whatever. So yeah, it's not, I could take it or leave it. Although we've had some fun variations.
Footballs, throwing some footballs instead of a bouquet like for the groomsmen, instead of the garter toss. But we've also had some situations too, because as you know, you always toss these things. And where are you at in these reception rooms? Chandeliers, very expensive lights. I mean, you can see where this is going.
Yeah. I had one, well, I know you had one where they broke the chandelier.
Yeah.
I had one where it just got caught. I don't remember if it was the chandelier or like a draped fabric, but the cheerleader and her bridesmaids were all ex-cheerleaders. So they just like literally like squatted and popped her up and she grabbed it like before anyone else could react. They had it back on the ground. I was shocked.
All right.
But yeah, this is one of my less enjoyed things when the guests clink the glasses incessantly and want the couple to kiss every time.
And you can tell the bride and groom hate it.
They do. And I feel bad for them because like they're just trying to have a conversation with someone.
I know.
And then they're just getting like clank, clank, clank. Like.
I try, and I know like just because obviously we're not photographing that every time.
No, I don't even try.
No. Usually when they sit down for the first time after their dance and there's still stuff being like, getting ready, I'll get to the table, look at me, look at each other, give a cheers, and then kiss. And then I got that photo and they're at the fresh start of the day. It's perfect. But I do not follow them with clinking glasses. I don't do anything.
No. And it's like cute twice.
One time.
Maybe.
Even then.
And then it's not anymore.
I had a wedding once though where the couple said, every time you clink the glass, the DJ has a list of trivia and he will then read the trivia and you have to guess it correctly. And if you do, they will kiss. And there was some like deep cuts of like, what was the groom's favorite album of 1998 or something. So guess what? They did not kiss that much.
Oh my gosh. I kind of love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So while we're mentioning trivia, we have now, especially in the last like couple of years, seen trivia in so many different formats.
It's becoming more and more like
throughout the wedding.
Yeah.
So tell us some that you've seen.
Let's see. I've had trivia for releasing to the buffet, where they had. I've seen it where it was couples trivia, and then the from all the tables had to run to the DJ. First one there got it right. Their table got dismissed. And I also saw the same thing where it was just like music. He played like a song, and you had to tell the artist or the name of the song.
Like a name that tune.
Yeah. Again, first one. So all these people started racing up to the table. And first one's got to go eat first.
Side quest. About Name That Tune. My great uncle was the creator of Name That Tune. And he presented the idea to a network or radio station. And they basically like made it sound so complicated and he was going to have to pay for the rights and all this other stuff that he gave up the idea. And then they took it. And
that's why we're doing this podcast.
Trademark.
We could have been
millionaires, Jacob.
Could have been a couple of Nepo babies just doing our podcast about our favorite. Okay.
But I've seen the trivia release for buffet tables, but one of the DJs I worked with had iPads for each table. And so there was like a table captain that was entering the question. And so they were ranking it on how fast you answered impacted how many points you got.
Yeah. What's that like website that like you can do that where you can set up a like Jax or something or Yaks or
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about? We just had one.
Yes, I know. The bat mitzvah had it. Yeah. I know there's a website, but they set up the trivia questions and projected on the TV screen or whatever, and then everyone. Well, I think they had a QR code at the last one, but you scan the QR code and like put in your name so that you can play from your own device, and then answer the trivia questions. And normally for bar and bat mitzvahs, they're just doing that for the kids to win prizes, but. I don't know if I've seen that at a wedding yet, like that particular system. I haven't seen
it, but that's a good idea, though, so they don't have to run to the table or run to the DJ booth, too.
I've also seen trivia. Well, Vince, the DJ I was just talking about, he did it at one party where like they weren't intending to dance at all. They basically hired him to run trivia, like a legit.
All right.
Like if you went to a pub and did trivia. So that was like their main after dinner activity.
I dig it.
Yeah, it was really fun. It fit the couple, and it wasn't just about the couple. Like a lot of times that's what the trivia is. There was some about the couple, but then there was some just about like stuff the couple is interested in, like different pop culture things they liked or whatever.
And that's what a wedding should be about, though, is like doing something that it doesn't need to be the traditions that you're used to. If that's what you are, do that. Mm-hmm. And the wedding will be so much, I'm not going to say more fun, but it's going to be more fun to you because that is what you do.
Right.
If you're traditional, though, and you want all the traditional stuff, you're still going to have fun because that's your fun. Mm-hmm. But like, don't be afraid to do whatever you want. That's why I say do whatever you want. It's your wedding.
I know. I get that question all like, well, what should we be doing? I said, there is no right or wrong for a wedding. It is your day. You do what makes the two of you happy. We
can give you some advice, or if you want to do things, how they work best after seeing them. You know, again, like maybe not have a 28-minute long first dance.
Right.
Do a choreographed dance, but you know.
I've also seen, I just saw this last month where the couple had like crossword puzzles made, custom crossword puzzles and like other trivia things where the clues were all about the couple, but they had it set out for their guests during cocktail hour.
Nice.
So while the couple and wedding party were doing photos and all that, the guests had like something to do, and it was really cute because I got back in the room while the bride was getting her dress bustled and I was getting myself ready for the reception, and a few of the guests came up to me and they're like, do you know what color the groom's eyes are? And I'm like scrolling through my camera, zooming in and giving them answers. So, but it was fun because they were all really into it because, you know, they were trying to compete against each other.
That's what it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the things that I think people feel like they have to do because it was very popular when like their parents got married is table photos.
Correct.
If there was one thing I could never do again in my life, it's a table photo. And here's the thing. It's because they are the most difficult thing to achieve. So if you want an exact photo of every single person at every single table, we can't do it on our own.
No.
Like we need some sort of structure because it never fails. One person's in the bathroom.
Yep.
2 people are at the bar. Oh no, I don't want to do it without so-and-so. Okay, well, it's going to take me a quarter of your reception just to do these photos. Yeah. And I'm going to miss anything else that's happening.
And when do we normally have to do them? During dinner.
During dinner.
So now there's food on the table. People like, they're mad at us for stopping them eating.
Yes. So if that's what you want, there are 2 ways I like to do it. 3 ways. One is if you have a buffet, that the person dismissing each table for the buffet is also the person I'm following to do your photo. So like you have to have your table picture done before your table can go to the buffet.
Yep.
Or if it's a plated meal, same thing, working with the catering manager that they don't deliver the salad to that table until I do the picture. And then that's like, if the DJ is announcing that I'm coming around to do those photos, like it can happen.
Yeah.
But there's a new fun way.
There's 2 kind of fun ways. I've seen it both ways. And they kind of started on the TikTok, if you will. At least one of them.
I didn't know.
But was the table dash, where the bride and groom will play one song and the DJ will hype it up and say if they have to get to every table and take a photo. And there's also, you didn't talk about the table photos with the bride or with the couple or without the couple.
Yes.
Because if it's with the couple, now what you're actually doing is creating like a receiving line. Yes. It's not just a photo. It's like you're going to talk to every single person at that table. And then we wait. With the rush, though, they are going table to table. And you can get the other table knowing. And so a lot of times they are ready. Like the next table is ready. And they run to every single table.
Yes.
Not only do you get all the table photos, you actually get a lot of fun ones. Because sometimes they have ideas to like, there are some guys get there on chairs. They have stuff ready for you.
And they're like ready to hold the room or something. Yeah.
And everyone's into it. I've never had one where they've not been into it.
No.
So totally agree. And then there's also the same idea, but the bride and groom sit in chairs on the dance floor and every table runs to them. And of course, here's the trick: the DJ is never gonna not let a table get it.
Oh yeah, they're just gonna keep like mixing the song so
Exactly.
it keeps going.
But it adds that sense of urgency that like if you don't make it, you're not gonna get their photo.
Yeah.
Of course, you're gonna get your photo.
Right. Yeah. And I really like that, especially if the couple's going to be involved.
Yes.
Because what that means is my favorite time to do this is right before the meal. They run around, they do all of that. Then we break for dinner.
Yep.
We get to take a quick break and eat. The couple can sit and eat. And then at their leisure, they can go around table to table,
Yep.
chatting with everybody. And they don't have to worry about me hovering over their shoulder, asking if they're ready to take a
We
picture.
got another table to do.
Yeah, like I don't want to. I want people to have that time, and I don't want to
Yeah.
impact it. So,
Because table photos, if you have 12 tables and you're going leisurely, it can take an hour.
yeah,
Because remember, you're going to each one, you're talking to every single person, but you can do it in one song, get the photos, and then you have that hour of dinner time to just talk with everyone you want.
yes, yeah, and not to say that like you should be concerned about when I eat, but a little bit you should be concerned
Yeah.
because hungry Dawn and not watered Dawn.
Nobody wants hungry Dawn.
It doesn't.
Hangry Dawn.
I start to fade, and I have had weddings where we take the whole dinner break trying to get table photos done, and then I don't get to take a break
Correct,
again
because
because
right
I'm not
after
going to
that-
leave. I'm not going to leave the room
Yeah.
when the reception's going.
Because right after that, we're going to start doing the parent dance or we're going to do something else. So no breaks for us.
Yeah. And again, not like I'm saying like, oh, I deserve my 30-minute break. That's not what it is. It's like literally I'm a human being, and if I don't eat or drink water, like
And you may not have seen this, but we haven't stopped moving,
Yes.
lifting, shooting. We have not sat down once. The first time we sit down on a wedding is when we
dinner.
eat. We have not, rarely have we drank any water. We have definitely not used the restroom
No.
unless it was a 911 emergency. Because, and if that's the case, we got bigger problems.
yes.
Because my body just shuts down during it. Like there's nothing happening. So,
Yeah.
So just this stuff to think about. Table photos.
Yes.
Biggest nemesis.
And it is great that you end the day with a picture of each of your
I
guests.
agree.
And I want couples to have that. It's just there needs to be some planning around it. It can't just organically happen because then I can't promise you it will happen.
Exactly.
It's just there's too many people to keep track of. So another one that is I think traditional, and then I didn't see it for like 4 or 5 years, and then all of a
It's
sudden
coming
I'm
back?
seeing it all the time
So
again.
let me guess.
Hmm.
Shoe game?
The shoe game.
The shoe game.
I'm seeing it. I'm like 50% of my weddings.
Yeah.
Like what? Where?
Who likes the shoe game? Oh. Actually, that's the thing. I don't actually hate the shoe game. As a bystander, it's actually pretty cute.
Yeah.
As a third-party bystander. As a photographer, after the first couple of questions, you got the photos.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know what the shoe game is,
That's
not
true.
that I want to like introduce it in the world for more people to do, but basically the wedding couple sit on chairs on the dance floor back to back.
Can't see each other.
They both take off both shoes and switch one shoe so that they each have their own shoe and then one of their partner's shoes, right? And then the DJ makes statements like, who is the grumpiest in the morning? And the couple is supposed to raise the shoe of the person they think that applies to.
Is it them or is it the other person?
Right. And so sometimes it's funny because they each think the other one is the grumpy one or whatever. And so the whole room is like giggling and laughing. Or like, who's the messiest or who's most likely to leave their clothes all over the floor? And their guests are all laughing at them
Yeah.
because like they have to admit that it's them. It, like you said, it's funny and cute as a bystander. However,
For 5 minutes.
there's only, I literally, when I'm photographing it, I do, okay, it's one combo where it's the bride's shoe up. One combo where it's the groom's shoe up. One combo
With both
where
of them.
it's both up or they've got opposite shoes. And then like, I'm out.
Yeah. Maybe a mom laughing really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when I just start getting audience reaction or audience guest reaction because
They always
look the
go on
same.
too long. That's every shoe game I've ever experienced. There's way too many questions. It's like 30 to 50 questions.
oh my gosh.
It just goes on and on. Like we're to the point where like people aren't even laughing anymore because they got the
yeah,
joke.
like we get it.
Yeah.
She's messy.
Uh-huh.
He eats a lot.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is. Yeah, it's
And then it gets really specific, like, you know, who likes Adidas shoes more? Who had the last colonoscopy?
they
And you're just
do
like, what?
They do normally end it on a sweet note, like
Yeah.
who loves who the most. That's normally the last
Yeah.
question. But I agree, they can go on
So-
for too long.
I'm okay with shoe game in a very reasonable,
Mm-hmm.
strict, safe bubble.
Mm-hmm.
This is how much shoe game I want.
Okay, but how much dollar dance do you want?
0. Well, again, this is from photographer's perspective. It doesn't do anything, especially if you've already done anniversary dances, anything like
Mhm.
that. I get if you want to get paid, get that money. It's 2024. But from a photography perspective,
Yeah. So again, if you don't know dollar dance, basically the wedding couple, they each stand up on the dance floor and anyone that wants to dance with either one of them has to pay.
Yep.
And there's normally like the bridesmaid or groomsman collecting money for each of them and it goes to their honeymoon fund or
Yeah.
their first house fund or whatever.
I don't see it as much though anymore.
But it's coming back.
Is
I'm
it?
seeing it more frequently again,
Yeah.
which is
It's just this economy.
I was going to say, I did have one couple once. They were both engineers and they just had like a paper on their table with a QR code to Venmo them.
Yeah, just send it right back to us, please. Cash App.
And I was like, what? But anyways, I like, again, the hardest part about the dollar dance is it goes on for forever because the DJ will just keep playing music while there are people in line, but it's so few people engaged at a time. Like,
And usually it's the entire dance floor, bride and other person dancing, groom and other person dancing. So it's 4 people dancing extremely far apart from each other.
yes.
So there's nothing even like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. And a lot of times DJs just let it go.
Yeah.
And they don't, like every once in a while I have a DJ who prompts like, okay, next person. So like each person only is getting 30 seconds to dance.
that's still too long.
But otherwise, like sometimes they just keep dancing until the next person like forces them to move on.
I had a wedding and the groom was from a different country and their tradition was literally they just threw money over the couple. So they did a dollar dance in like 45 seconds
Yeah.
with music, but it was awesome because I stood underneath the couple and I have this great shot of money literally raining down over them. That's way better than just
Yeah.
while the bridesmaid holds a bag of money on the side.
I had one similar. It was right after the entrance. Like the DJ had everyone form a circle on the dance floor. The wedding couple came in. They were in the middle of the room, but the couple had, I think it was probably steeped in the same tradition, but the couple had assigned different people in their wedding party to have those like guns that squirt out money. And so I have a similar picture of the bride dancing in the middle and then just like money coming in from all sides, but everyone is around the dance floor.
Yeah.
It's a much more, in terms of photography,
In terms of photography.
it's a
But
much
again,
more
if you want to get
engaging.
paid, get paid.
You do you.
You do you.
We will never tell you no. One thing I do really love is either photo booths or like Polaroid or disposable cameras
Absolutely.
at weddings.
The more
I mean-
stuff to take off my back, the better.
right. Not to be biased. Of
Yeah.
course, we love more photos. But I like photo booths because it's just, those are some fun candidates for us to get, right? People picking out their props
Yep.
and like squishing themselves in. And they're going to do that for the photo booth before they ever want to do it for us.
Correct. And you will get more people will be more candid on the photo booth against the machine than they will ever be for us, no matter how comfortable they are with us.
Yes.
So, and you're going to get all those photos anyway. So I think it's a no-brainer. It's a big win for
Yeah.
everyone.
And it's fun too when if they have the Polaroids or the photo booth is printing and then that kind of builds the guest book.
Yeah. Oh,
Where
that's true
you
too.
like put the picture into the guest book and then people can write something.
Yeah.
I like that for a guest book more than like just the book where people sign their names. That's, more
Absolutely.
memories, I think, and just kind of shows off the fun of the party. And people always get really into it.
Really into it. I've seen too lately is those 360 ones with the
Oh,
video.
yeah.
So they
Mhm.
do that whole like it spins around them and then they get the video as well and the couple gets sends to the couple as well. Those seem to be pretty fun.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. So food.
Like late night food.
Late night food. So I've seen weddings where they've had like a s'mores station set up outside.
Nachos.
Nachos, yeah.
Burgers, fries, pretzels.
Yeah, so like late night snacks like at 10 or 11, rolling extra food out.
I mean, I'm pro. It doesn't really affect photography that much. I mean, if you want photos of it, we'll make sure to document it as part of your story. But I think it's always a big, the drunk people seem to love it. as a big guy myself, I'm gonna steal a nacho. I'm gonna grab a nacho when you're not looking and put it in my mouth. But
yeah, I may or may not have stolen a few marshmallows off of a s'mores station.
Mhm.
The s'mores one is nice though, because then you can get people like sitting around the fire
That's
with
true.
their marshmallow sticks.
anything that's interactive for photography, obviously, or video is great.
Mm-hmm.
But those little touches do make a big deal to guests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's nice too when you have like different types of activities because it gives us more opportunities to capture the people who don't want to dance.
Correct.
They might go and do the photo booth, or they might go to the s'mores station, and we can capture them.
Yep.
That way, instead of just like sitting at their table.
Yeah. Otherwise, if it's just straight dancing, they'll sit in the dark
Mm-hmm.
with their dark thoughts the entire time. And if you try to go up to them and say, "Hey, you want a photo?" No.
Mm-hmm. Something I'm not a huge fan of is a receiving line.
Yeah, I don't really see them that much anymore, I guess. And if they are, they're usually like at a church.
Yeah.
I guess. I know I've had a couple. Actually, the wedding I shot last weekend it was an accidental receiving line.
That's what happened.
Basically, the bride and groom had showed up because they were going to do their entrance, and instead of hiding them, when everyone came in from cocktail hour, it became a receiving line, which caused things to then slow down. And the coordinator is trying to be, and I'm like, the best way is to just get the bride and groom out of there. Go put them in the bathroom. Just anything that gets them.
Yeah. Or it'll happen, like certain venues are not, like the couple will recess out of the ceremony and go off to the side somewhere, but they have to physically walk right back through where the cocktail hour is to get back to where the ceremony was for us to do family photos. And so, yeah, sometimes there's like an accidental receiving line, which I get it. Everyone wants to see them, but that's why like I would rather them have that time after dinner to go around and see everybody. Because as we've talked about with wedding day timelines before, like we only have so much time for those photos.
That time after the ceremony before you have to be called to reception is the most critical timeline for photography of the entire day. So if you start doing receiving and talking to people every minute, and this sounds silly, but every minute is minutes that usually can't be made up.
Right.
So if having newlywed photos and photos of parents and things like that are important, you need to. Sometimes when that happens, like I straight up just like go like, you don't see them.
I know.
Like I'll walk up and be like, nope, you don't see them.
Coming through.
They don't exist.
Or I get like, if I've built a good relationship with the wedding party, I'll be like, okay, can you guys form a line so I can get the couple through and they don't see anybody, they don't stop to talk to anybody.
I'll be like, no eye contact. Don't look at them.
All right, I think that pretty much brings us to the end of the night.
Yeah.
So most of the time there's a last dance, or even if it's not like a big deal, like there's a final song.
Yeah. We're already there photographing, so.
But what I've seen pick up a lot over the last few years is if there's going to be a send-off, folks the couple sends everyone outside to get ready for that send-off, and then they get to have a private last dance.
Big fan. Big fan. 2 reasons. Again, private dances are super cute. You can do a photo of just the 2 of them in the venue by themselves. You don't get that first dance. You don't get that any other time. Maybe sometimes when they come into the room for the first time.
Yeah, if there's a room reveal.
It's still rare. So I'm a big fan. They get a super cute moment together. And then also, one of the biggest problems is getting people in the send-off to get out. So like if the wedding ends at 10:30, it's not that the last dance is at 10:30. The last dance is actually like at 10:40. So this is a great way for the dude to be like, guys, you need to go outside. They're having a private dance. Get out. Most people get the clue pretty quickly. And really, that's just buying the time for them to get out of there, go set up for sparklers or whatever. And then do have the private dance. And honestly, I only take a few photos in there.
Yeah. Well, a unique problem we have here in Florida is if we have to go from the cold air conditioning to the 100% humidity outside, our cameras are going to fog up. So, yeah, it's normally, I mean, I don't need a lot of time. And honestly, I'd like them to have time without me watching them.
We've said that before, where like, it's not all about us sometimes. Like sometimes let them be newlyweds, which means we got the shot and now we're going to back into the shadows.
Yes.
Where we belong.
Yes. Like, yeah. So I'll take, basically I want a shot where I see like this profile of both of them. Then one where I see mostly one of their faces, mostly other of their faces, full length, close up, done.
I want a whole
room. Yeah, whole room. Unless the venue has started cleaning up in the background.
That's true too.
It drives me bonkers. Like I just see, I'm normally lighting them diagonally from either side. So there's not a lot of spill from my light. And by that point in the night, like all the other lights are off except the uplighting.
Yeah.
But I can still see like the shadow of the venue person pulling tablecloths. Like, you can't wait 3 more minutes.
They can't. They literally can't.
But then that leads us into the send-off.
I'm also very pro send-off too. If you're going to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's traditionally sparklers. I've seen ribbons. I've seen bubbles.
Glow-ons.
Glow-ons are tougher. They don't show up as well as you think they will.
Nope.
Sparklers usually always get the job done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had one recently. They had pride flags. Everyone got to have pride flags. And it was good because it was like just barely sunset when they left. So it wasn't quite dark enough for sparklers anyway. But I've had one wedding where it was the private last dance, and then the couple was going to change into a different outfit for the send-off. And so the couple didn't tell me or the DJ this, and they were at one of the barn venues who have the option to not have them be the coordinators. Like, they're just there to open doors, basically. So there was like no one else to clue us in. And I just happened to say something. Oh, I know what it was. We were finishing newlywed photos, and I was like, hey, are you guys like ready to go? Can I send the DJ in to the bridal suite to talk to you about entrances? They're like, yeah, I think we're fine. I'm like, you don't need to change or do anything. Like, no, we don't need to change till send off. And I was like, what? You're changing at send off? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna do a private last dance. And I'm like, what? You are? And so I had to go and tell the DJ, I'm like, did you know there's a private last dance? And he's like,
Nope.
no. I was like, did you know that after the private last dance, they're also changing? So, but what that meant was all of their guests were outside for the whole private last dance and for them to change clothes. The one woman was like, what are they doing? It took less time for the Titanic to sink.
And I would have been, you know what they're doing.
Well, there was some of that too. But yeah, it was pretty rough because it was hot and there were mosquitoes and...
Yeah. Send-offs are also weird too, because sometimes in the rush of all of it, I'll forget to say goodbye to them. And then I forget that then they get into a car and just drive off. They're like, leave. Oh,
yep.
Okay.
Most of the time, that is what happens.
Yeah. I try to remember beforehand, be like, I'm saying goodbye now in case we don't see each other again. I love you. Thank you for everything.
Yep.
But there's been a few times where I'm like, oh.
Sometimes I'm like at the passenger door, like, hi. So, yeah. I do like the send-offs. I do get a little nervous when there are sparklers and everyone's super
and drunk people. Love it.
Or I had one time where the line was so long that they were standing, like my back was to their exit vehicle. And I still had people like bunching up just next to me, like with the sparkler right outside the gas tank of the car.
This is fine.
And I'm like, how much hairspray did I use today? Like, what's going to catch on fire?
Knowing you a lot.
Yeah. So, cool. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Did we miss any?
Yeah.
Any traditions?
Let us know if we missed anything or if you've seen anything new that you thought was really fun. So.
What would you shoot this week?
So this week, I was part of a big team that was hired to do headshots for Ipsy, which is a makeup subscription company.
Right.
And I was like, we going to get free gifts? We
did you?
We did
Spoiler alert.
But yeah, so I just took headshots for like 6 hours straight. And then I also photographed a nonprofit gala at the Waldorf, which was nice because the Waldorf is super fancy. But we had a VIP reception that I was photographing, and that was happening concurrently with like the general open reception. And so I had Stephanie with me because you are busy.
Yeah.
And doing more fun things. And so she was doing that other reception, and they did have one of those 360 videos there, and they had a photo booth at her reception. Mine was just about like the guest speaker for the event was like the attraction and like elected officials and things like that. So I was like in front of a backdrop for most of it. Mm. And then they had their full presentation, and it's a nonprofit gala. So they had their ask. So, catching people as they scan the QR code and start filling out the donation information.
Money, please.
Yeah. Yeah, and just all of the significant speakers they had.
Right.
They lit it really well, though, so we didn't even need to use flash during the
That's impressive.
program.
That's very rare.
Yeah, I was happy about that. So what about you?
It was my birthday week.
Yay!
And not only that, it was my daughter. My daughter's birthday is also 4 days before mine. So it's, it was a big week of birthdays. We went to theme parks. My mother came down. My aunt came down. So a lot of theme parkage, a lot of Sky Zone Urban Air, if you know those type of places.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter's obsessed with those. So we had birthday parties there. We had birthday parties at home. So I took the whole week off. I mean, I didn't take the week off, but,
You didn't schedule anything.
The first weekend was her birthday, so I'm obviously not working on that. And the second weekend was my birthday. And so it just worked out with my mom here that we wanted to have fun time. So I am very tired, though, because 14 hours in the parks is just as bad as a 12-hour wedding.
Yeah, maybe worse.
So many lightning lanes, so many multi-passes.
Yeah.
But we did so much in just like 2 or 3 days. So
does your daughter have a favorite ride?
Big Thunder.
And then what about your son?
Probably Velocicoaster at Universal.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, he just got into Upside Down roller coaster, so now it's pure pressure. I couldn't get him on one, but going there with his friends all of a sudden.
Yeah, that was a good one. I remember the first time I rode that, I didn't know what the track was like. And when we flipped upside down over the water, like I would have sworn to you that my ponytail was an inch from the water.
But so yeah, no photography talk, which was great. It was actually kind of nice not to have a job every once in a while. You're like, oh yeah, I can live a normal human life.
Yeah,
I don't have to shoot every single day. It's okay though, because the next like 17 weeks are nonstop. All right.
Did you just say nonstop in the Hamilton voice in my head?
Sure did.
Because I did too.
I'm glad you caught it.
I did too. So speaking of having time when we're not photographers, I thought we would talk about what we did before we were photographers. We've mentioned little tidbits here and there, but
tidbits. We'll probably have to do a whole episode on some of these.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I've had some interesting jobs before I became a photographer. I worked at places like IKEA. One of my first jobs out of college was I worked for Disney World, but not as a photographer. That came a decade or so later.
Right.
Was at Attractions. Did I just call them Attractions? Attractions at Walt Disney World. I have worked some famous rides you may know of, like Rock and Roller Coaster, Tower of Terror. I then opened Expedition Everest. I was on the opening team of Expedition Everest. And then I retired at the Jungle Cruise, which if you know me, everyone goes, yep, that makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
So those are the 4 attractions I worked at. I did that for 4 or 5 years. Rock and Roller Coaster means a lot. That's where I met my wife. She worked there as well. So we are a Rock and Roller Coaster family. And actually on my birthday trip just a couple of days ago, I took my son on Rock and Roller Coaster for the first time.
Oh, fun.
So I was telling him all the places where his mom and dad used to make out, which really made him uncomfortable. Never make out, but steal a little kiss here and there in the backstage areas or little hidden spots that guests wouldn't see. Young couples in love. But then most of my best friends, not high school, not college, it was all Rock and Roller Coaster. We were working 60 to 70-hour weeks together, and then after we would go to Ale House, and then we'd go back in at 7 a.m. and work all day, and then go to the Ale House, and so we did everything together. So the Rock and Roller Coaster family that I was a part of from about 2004 to 2005 is a very tight knit. We're still close with a lot of people there.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So that was my Disney stuff, and I got lots of stories that will come on the podcast. And then the other job that people always freak out about that was weird is that I was a 911 operator for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
I mean, I know you have crazy stories.
And then when I never told anyone when I worked there, but when I got the job with Disney, I was actually still working as a 911 operator. But when I became a contractor with Disney Photography, there was job by job basis, and I didn't have a lot of jobs, obviously. So I was still working 911, and I'd sometimes I'd be doing midnights, and I would do those bridal portraits, getting off. I would drive from the comm center
work
to there to do the bridal portraits, or vice versa. Like some jobs I'd be doing like a wedding into it and then go right into the comm center and work a 12-hour 9-1 shift. That didn't last. That lasted for maybe 6 months before I just quit and said, no, I'm doing photography full time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and your degree is in photography,
correct.
Right?
So it was time to poop or get off the pod.
Right.
I didn't say the bad word. I get a Snickers bar. So yeah, those are my kind of, like I said, I worked attractions. Then I worked at IKEA for a little bit, which is pretty wild too. Great company. One of the best companies I ever worked for.
Yeah?
Yeah. The job, selling Swedish furniture. You didn't sell, you just customer service. But
right.
I worked in living rooms. But great company to work for though.
It's been great, though, that you did work at IKEA because I've gotten tips from Jacob about how to properly care for my couch covers.
See? I know it very well. And how to build. I can build anything.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, into 911 and then into photography. So that's my quick. And I think we'll have to have a podcast on.
Yeah. Yeah. This is just the intro.
This is just the tip.
Yeah. So if there's anything that sparks your interest, let us know so we can do a full episode about it.
What'd you do?
So my degree's in education.
Yeah.
So
I know one of your jobs, but I don't know everything. I know one of the things you did.
Yeah. So I taught right out of college here in Orlando for 2 years. I was at Timber Creek High School and I taught 10th, 11th, and 12th grade math.
Nerd.
It was rough. It was hard. I have some students that I still talk to and keep up with, and like they're the reason why I even made it to a second year. But it wasn't what I wanted it to be because I just wanted to teach kids math. I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to like help students through that time of their life. And there's just so many blocks that you come across that keep you from doing that. Yeah. So it was really hard for me. And like the students were really hard to work with. And then it was hard to get parents on board with any sort of discipline to try to get their students to improve. I had a lot of phone calls home where I don't believe you. My son or daughter would never do that. And I'm like, it's the 4th time they've done it this week. Like, I'm not here to fight with you. I need you to know this. And this is what's going to happen. And I would have some weeks where on Fridays, I would spend 6 hours on the phone calling parents because we couldn't move through our disciplinary process until we called home. So I would spend I had to do a warning and then I could do a detention but I had to do a warning phone call. Then I could do a detention if it was like the same infraction over and over again. So it was just a lot of that and a lot of, my students wouldn't turn in something. Oh, well, you can't give them a 0 because then they don't have a chance of passing. So I'm going to give them a 60% on something they didn't do at all. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
And they're like old enough to drive. We're not talking like a 3rd grader that had a hard time getting to the right level developmentally. Like they drove to school and you're telling me I have to provide them with pencils?
Some of them are adults.
Right. Like, this is wild. So I have plenty of stories to go around about that. But after that, I went to grad school for 2 years in Georgia at the University of Georgia for a master's in college administration so that I could then work at a university. So with an older age group of students. When I graduated, though, it was shortly after the financial crash and most universities weren't hiring. So they were under like a hiring freeze. So I went to a nonprofit in Athens that still worked with college students. And it was like the same type of work, but just with the general population instead of just with students. So I managed a volunteer center. I managed our 211 helpline, which I don't know if you know about that because of 911.
No,
but it's basically...
We didn't talk to anyone else.
It's basically like just how you can call 911. People can dial 211 and then they get connected with a person who can walk them through a database of social services. So if they need help paying their rent or paying their utilities.
Florida has?
The entire country has it.
Oh, okay. No, everyone called 911 for everything.
Well, you could have been telling them to call 211 instead. So I managed those programs. And after 4 years, we decided to move back to Florida. And I just had a hard time finding a job in education or nonprofits. I didn't have the right mix of education and experience for most places to even interview me.
Right.
And so while I was in Georgia, I had started doing photography part-time. And then that's why when I got here and it was 6 months later of no job prospects, I was like, anybody know what I should do? And
Photography.
yeah, thankfully, Courtney helped me get an interview at Disney. And then I had applied to a few other photography jobs. So I started like my first couple years of my photography career working at Disney and then working at the photography studio that used to be at the Portofino Hotel. And it was a lot of what you were saying. Like I would do a bridal at Disney and then go work at the pool for 8 hours and then come back and work a convention at Disney.
Oh, I did that.
And just like stacked all of it.
I would just hang out at Disney sometimes and then that's how like the management kind of was like, I had nowhere to like, like, oh my God, there's a convention night. Can you do it? You're here. Yeah.
Yes, I can.
And that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Until they finally realized, oh, he can actually shoot too.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I did. So from like, what is that? Like 10 years from college to when I started, or 8 years from college to when I started doing photography full time.
So don't do what we do, kids. Go to school, get a real job.
Yeah. At least your degree is in photography.
It might be worse.
I just kept jumping.
I made the wrong choice.
But of all the things that I've done, this is what I've done the longest.
Yeah. No, mine too.
Like everything else was 2 years, 4 years, and then I've been doing this for 10.
I was 4 years at Disney, 4 years at like IKEA for a couple years. Because I went back to school to then get the photography degree. So I was like, I'd already had all the prerequisites done. So it was just kind of like an add-on at that point.
Gotcha.
But that's when I worked at IKEA. But yeah, so this I've been doing since 2011. So what year is it now?
2024.
Oh, so 13 years?
Yeah, I just hit 10 years full time. So
we're making it.
We're surviving. We're still here.
I'm going to go cry. All right.
Okay.
We'll talk about this more later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
I got to go.